Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. Today is Monday, June 6th, 2022. And Monday, we focus on what I call governance at the neighborhood level. I make that statement because of my partnership with Hawthorne Neighborhood Council, my colleague and friend, Diana Hawkins, and also Dee Phillips, and the members and community. And the proposition is that this is where the real work of neighborhood takes place. This is where it happens. And we're pleased to be a part of that. And I'm actually tinkering with my technology as we speak. So I don't know what I'm coming across or are you seeing. I think I'm okay. And in my ear, I'm hearing an echo on me, but if you're not hearing it, we're good to go. Okay, great. Diana, Dee, how are you guys doing?
Great, thank you.
Doing good. It's Monday. You know, we shooting the usual again. We got another baby that was shot. So, you know, our prayers is going up to that today. But, you know, it's Monday and it's a beautiful day. I'm glad to be here.
Carrie Jo, what's on your mind today?
Oh, well, we were just talking about the 3-year-old that was shot over there on Sheridan, and, you know, just prayers going out to the family and the child. And I don't know. We were talking about that before we got on, and so that's just kind of heavy right there. And you know, just the tragedies that different communities are going through. Like some are going through fire right now, some are going, you know, needing gun control. Just a lot going on in the community.
Brenda, fire is kind of what's been on your mind. You're blocks away from a fire that's been one of the biggest in was it New Mexico for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Controlled burn.
Okay, out of control.
No, it was a controlled burn that started it.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was that those wind gusts just picked up, carried the embers, and it just went berserk. 425 homes gone. So I'm very grateful to be sitting here in front of my computer and looking at all of your wonderful faces.
Well, listen, let's get into today's program. The first part, anyway, is talking about AmeriCorps' program called Reading Corps and Math Corps. And it's an important initiative that has tremendous opportunity and access for families and children in North Minneapolis in particular. Pleased to have Caroline Glaw. How do you pronounce it, Caroline?
You were on the right track. It's Caroline Glavy, Rhymes with Gravy.
Glavy. Okay, got it. Well, I see it. But, well, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Let's jump right in and talk about Reading Corps and Math Corps 101. What's the basics?
The basics are we have members throughout the state of Minnesota, and also some of our programs reach into other states in the United States. I am a program manager with Minnesota Reading Corps and Minnesota Math Corps, and I support schools in Minneapolis. And so both Minneapolis public schools as well as charter schools in Minneapolis. And some of my schools are in North Minneapolis, and that is a community, an area, a culture that I have come to love. I've worked directly with schools in North Minneapolis for about 3 years. And so I'm just thrilled to be here today to take 2 minutes just to give a good overview of what Math Corps and Reading Corps is in this state and in North Minneapolis specifically. We have members who sign up for service, and we have service starting dates of August. We have a starting date in October, and then our final starting date is in January. Our members serve in the hour category that works best for them. So our reduced part-time members work 18 hours a week, and we can kind of break that up in different ways throughout the week. Our part-time members work 25 hours a week, and then our full-time members work 35 hours a week. Members receive a very modest living allowance. Our full-time members also have health insurance, and that is paid for by AmeriCorps. This is an AmeriCorps program. And what we do in schools, the work that we're doing in schools is very important because our Reading Corps members are working with kindergarten through third grade age students who have shown that they are falling behind in their academic work for what could be a myriad of reasons, certainly. So our members work with a specific age range of students. They work one-on-one using scripted reading interventions that are designed to improve proficiency in reading over time. So our members have a caseload that they see each day that they are in the school and really get to know those students, what motivates them, what can help unlock some of those challenges that they're having to reading. And our Math Corps members work with 4th graders through 8th graders. They work in small groups, and they work for 90 minutes a week with their students on their caseload. Again, those students remain consistent, and so that relationship between that tutor and the student becomes really important as significant, which can have a lot to do with increased confidence as they work together to make progress that both of them can see, because we monitor that progress very, very carefully. So our programs really work. We are actively recruiting right now for the 2022-23 school year. Again, there's lots of opportunity depending where people have time and ability to serve in their schools. And in North Minneapolis, reaching a community that wants to support the schools in their community is so important. And the need in North Minneapolis, and this is such an obvious point, I am sorry to even state it, but the need is great. And so I am really excited for the 22-23 school year and for having opportunities like this to spread the word about our programs and talk to interested candidates who might want more information. Minnesota Reading Corps or Minnesota Math Corps.com is a great place to start to get a good overview. And then we take each candidate through a process where we really let them know exactly what their service experience will be. So again, I am thrilled that you made time for me today. I will make my contact info available for anyone that wants a little more information on these great programs. Thank you so much.
You can put the contact information in the chat if you want to, and I'll put it across the screen as well. Thank you so much for being here. And let's say this is the beginning, because I think we can spend some time sort of sitting in this space in a way that illuminates the value, the importance, the necessity that we pay attention. You know, I think about reading in a personal way because of my experience sitting at the kitchen table growing up in Kansas City, and my dad coming in and getting the morning or afternoon paper. Maybe I'm in 3rd grade or 4th grade, I'm not sure which, but he asks me to read the paper, and I read it. So I'll read for as long as he'll allow me, and I loved reading, but I loved it more because he was pleased with my ability to read, and he encouraged me to read. He commented on how articulate I was, how my enunciation was clear, how I pronounced words properly, and every time I got a compliment, I got a boost, you know, and that just made me redouble my interest and my intent. And it's guided me and sort of been part of my DNA since. It gives me the confidence to present myself as a wordsmith, a person who works with words, who is a lover of words, and who understands the power, the impact of language in and among human beings. And so my question becomes, and this is why, Caroline, I say what you're doing is so important. How do we have every boy and girl have that or a similar experience where she or he can be appreciated, valued, motivated, inspired to discover the greatness within that comes from the ability to examine the world through reading and through math. So that's my background story and sort of a testament to the value of this work. How does that sound to you, Caroline? And maybe you've heard variations on this story for years and years. What do you think?
It is so important to have that encouragement and that inner motivation with someone that you trust and that you care about, and who really celebrates that progress that you make. And so that is an imperative part of learning, that the love of reading and math is so important. And certainly as we see students advance to older grades, that reading and that math become integral to the success of their academic career. So you are spot on. Thank you so much.
So what's your background, Caroline? How do you come to this work?
Wow, that is going to be a quick and interesting answer. My background is in human resources, and then for about 15 years, I got involved in the culinary field, and so was a restaurant consultant and did a lot of trainings in restaurants. Loved it. It's a great way to socially interact, but it didn't pay off in my heart. And I knew that I needed to devote the rest of my life, the rest of my career, to really giving back. And so the move from being a culinary professional to the work I am doing now has changed my life. And I absolutely love it.
Brenda, let me ask you to think back with me. For those who are listening and watching, Brenda Lyle Gray and I were in kindergarten together a long, long time ago.
Oh, wow.
We're in our mid-70s now. So we were in class together at age 5. And we talked in the past about the importance of things like My Weekly Reader. And we talked about reading in our classroom and the attitude about reading and literacy in our households. And Brenda, you've gone on to be an educator of note over your career. And what are your thinking? What's your thoughts about what we've done or not done to encourage and support and grow that affinity with knowledge and the acquisition of knowledge through reading in the Black community in particular? What are your thoughts?
Well, it goes back to your dad and sitting at the table reading the paper. And I remember Vern Webster, who would sit in a chair while we had to sit on the floor.
In kindergarten. Yep.
The school we were supposed to go to during white flight was burned down to keep us from going. But we managed, and we had a wonderful teacher that lived in our neighborhood. And we learned a lot out of National Geographic that had been discarded by some of the wealthy homes. We did not have a library. We had a small high school library, but we weren't allowed to go to the public library. And let me tell you, when that public library opened up downtown, you saw little Black kids just lined up. We were determined. We wanted to walk inside. I think one of the things that really comes to mind is that we saw our teachers read. They were never without a book. And our principal, George Perry, who also lived in the neighborhood, he'd see us in the hall. Of course, he knew our parents. And he'd say, Brenda Lyle, do you have a book in that satchel? Because we didn't have book bags. We had those little plaid satchels. So I think it's important. I had submitted to Al education books that I have started collecting, because there are a lot of books now that are out on civically guided social justice classrooms using literature. So I think we're just tipping the iceberg, but I keep wondering about teacher training transmitting this love for reading that we had. We couldn't read enough, and we'd go on vacations. That was the first things we would get were comic books and books that we could read in the back seats while we were traveling. So reading was just a part of who we were, and we loved it. So we've got to get back there, but it's going to take a lot, I think, with teacher training. Teachers have got to be trained differently. It is no longer an 8 to 3 occupation. It goes beyond. So, Carolyn, congratulations on the work you're doing. And AmeriCorps was Colin Powell and his wife. Is that part of it?
It goes back to President John Kennedy, but certainly President Obama and Michelle Obama were big proponents of AmeriCorps programs and the work that members are doing to serve their country in the United States.
Well, congratulations.
I'm looking at the AmeriCorps website, and the About Us says AmeriCorps in action. Reading Corps and Math Corps and Early Learning Corps are evidence-based AmeriCorps programs. We partner with schools across the country to provide tutors and extra help for students. Our goal is to ensure every student is reading by 3rd grade and ready for algebra by the end of the 8th grade. And it gives you sort of a menu. But what it says, particularly about reading and math, Reading Corps says students who are strong readers by the end of the 3rd grade are more likely to be successful learners. And this program is targeting students from kindergarten to 3rd grade. And on the math, it says students who master fundamental math skills are prepared for greater challenges in high school, college, and the workplace by combining the people power of AmeriCorps with cutting-edge math research. Math Corps helps make sure every student has a chance to succeed. The target audience is there, 3rd grade through 8th grade. And what I love about this, Caroline, is that you have created, or this is a program that pays volunteers, people who sign up to support young people as mentors, as readers, actually do this for pay, or it's not real pay, maybe it's a stipend, or maybe it is real pay. Talk about that, because I've often talked about how we really scale up change in the community. And one of the ways to scale up change is exactly what you're doing, hiring people through the neighborhood, making it a both education and philosophical objective that's attainable, accessible, but also have a financial element that eliminates some of the barriers that people have to being involved and to doing the things they want to do to support community, support children. So you put the whole package together. I think that's marvelous. But talk about how many students can you work with, and how big the budget is, for example, to make this work happen in our community.
Our programs, Minnesota Reading Corps and Math Corps, receive some of our funding through federal grants under the AmeriCorps umbrella. And that is why we can pay and I'm going to stress again that the living allowance is modest. And so for some members, they have a part-time job making what they need and then are able to make their service work with AmeriCorps. Another really large element of our programs that I did not touch on is the fact that all members are working toward an education award. And that education award is dollars that can be put toward their college experience. And so for many of our members, especially those that may be curious and thinking about going into teaching as a profession, to know that they're also earning money toward college is a big attraction. And for our members who are 55 or older on their first day of service, that award can be gifted. And so we see a lot of people gifting that award to a child, a grandchild, or a foster child. And so that benefit, coupled with the fact that indeed there is a living allowance, there is a regular paycheck, and that remains stable throughout the term of service, is very attractive for our members. And the education award depends on the start date and the number of hours in your term. And the living allowance also is staggered depending on how many hours you are serving. So more information on those specifics are certainly found on our website. After a person shows interest and applies to one of our programs, they work with a recruiter who is working specifically in areas so that they can become an expert. And I actually was a recruiter for 2 years before being a program manager. So that is why I've had opportunity to really invest time and get to know South Minneapolis, North Minneapolis, really focus in on some of these beautiful and unique communities. And so we would love to talk to members. The recruiters take in that application, and then they set up a phone interview where they go over all the fine details of our program, talk in depth with candidates who are interested, and then they'll start to match that candidate with a school that is close in proximity to them, a school where they wish to serve in. And then I arrive at that time for final interviews with the principal. So it's a process where we are very, very careful to make sure that each candidate has adequate information to make the choice on whether this is the program for them.
And the commitment that a candidate makes is per semester, is that it, or per year?
It is per the year. So we follow the school year, again, with start dates in August, October, or January. And then those members, regardless on the date that they start, work until the end of that school year. So they're following those students for that school year experience.
The stipend per volunteer or worker is how much?
Well, that really varies on the level of commitment. So I do not have that information right in front of me today, but for our part-time members, the stipend, I believe, is $675 every 2 weeks. And for full-time, a greater amount than that. I'm sorry, I don't have those exact numbers today.
And typically, the volunteer, or you refer to them as members, comes to a site that you've identified as near and accessible, or the best match for their geographic placement, and they work with one student or with a group of students. How does it work?
And the exciting part here is that the candidate is really part of the process throughout the entire process. And so together, the recruiter and the candidate talk about schools that we are partners with and support, and talk about options to see which might be the best fit for this candidate. And then the candidate is placed in that school. In the school, they have the support of the principal. The school also provides an internal coach, and the internal coach is that on-site staff person employed by the school to support the member. And that member, that volunteer, starts with a caseload of students. Initially, starts with lots of training so that each member has a clear understanding of exactly what the position and expectation of the position is. And then they work to start building their caseload of students. And that caseload remains consistent, and again is dependent on how many hours a day that member is in the school each day. But they build that caseload working directly with the internal coach as they identify which students are in need of most most one-on-one help with reading core.
But typically it's one-on-one help. It's one-on-one.
It's one-on-one with reading core, and then small groups of 2 or 3 students with math core.
Got it. And so the schools provide the space and provide the connecting or coaching to keep the student's schedule kind of synchronized to make time for the one-on-one interaction with the volunteer. So things happen seamlessly. Is that correct?
They really do. And they continue the year with my support. So I know all of my members and work through any challenges that they are having. And the third element of support is a coaching specialist. So every member also has a coaching specialist. That person is the content expert. And that coaching specialist is in the school on a regular basis to observe the volunteer, to help them become the best volunteer that they can be. So lots of ongoing support from coaching specialists, internal coaches, and program managers throughout the course of their year.
Carrie, jump in. What's your take on this and what's on your mind in general? But we can start with this and build the conversation out. Dee and Diana, jump in the conversation as well.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering, I think this sounds awesome. And I have a friend who is a mathematician, although he has a prior record, right? Black male mathematician. Where do you find those? And so can people with records apply?
Absolutely. All of our members go through a background check. Mm-hmm. And if someone has a record, AmeriCorps is very specific about what they are looking at. And there's a couple of things that would disqualify. Of course, we work with children, so we need to make certain that the background is something that is vetted, but certainly they can apply. The program manager and member kind of go through that process together as that background check comes in, but that should not be, ever stand in the way for any interested candidate.
Mm-hmm. And how do you go about in North Minneapolis finding candidates?
I found as a recruiter that it could be challenging because North Minneapolis has a reputation that is not reflective of the sense of community and beautiful people that make up North Minneapolis. And so it can take people that are passionate, that are tirelessly working to get the word out, so that our schools can be reflected by their members. Those members know the community, they're vested in their community. And so those are always the ideal members. And my job is to graciously accept invitations like this to continue talking and working to get word out so that we have opportunity to talk to people and walk them through the specifics.
Thank you.
Caroline, I have a question. What do you do about evaluation? Does AmeriCorps evaluate the students and the success of them? Is it by month? Is it semester? And then the other question is there ever any room for peer volunteers within the schools?
And talk a little bit more, Brenda, so that I make
I just finished a piece on the Hersinger report talked about peer groups that tend to be more effective. They're older kids that work with the younger ones. And I was just wondering, are there different types of evaluation programs to see how it's working? For example, maybe that if it hadn't even been thought of, but how do we know that is it the school or the coaching person that's helping and reviewing the evaluators or whatever, our volunteers? Who does the evaluation?
School to school, the internal coach fills out both a mid-year evaluation and an end-of-term evaluation. And they go over that point by point with the member.
Mm-hmm.
And the member then has room for growth in many instances, but also can really celebrate the impact that they're having on those students, on that school. And so the evaluations really happen on a level where the person doing the evaluating really knows that volunteer and can speak to that. We certainly collect a lot of data from students as we monitor and track that student growth. And that is then handled on an AmeriCorps level as they look at our programs. And we're constantly trying to strengthen our programs so that we can be most efficient in meeting the needs of the students.
Do you have a summer program, Carolyn?
We do have a summer program. We have summer, short summer tutoring opportunity that members have started. And so the window for that and getting started with that summer program has closed, but that is certainly something that is available each year. And you were talking about the opportunity for peers and maybe, students who are a little bit older or young people to work with students. And that is so exciting because students get really excited when they see someone from their community investing time in them. And so an AmeriCorps volunteer needs to be 18 years old or older on their first day of service. AmeriCorps has many, many, many amazing programs under its umbrella. And so there is likely something that is very reflective of exactly what you are talking about.
Really sounds exciting. I would love to see more schools have something like that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, would they ever think of lowering that age? Because, now we're at a time where, the job after school was supposed to be at McDonald's or Dairy Queen, but a lot of adults are acquiring those jobs. Would we ever think about bringing it down to seniors and looking at their GPA and saying, that's fine? I mean, I think that would be a really good product, and then kids could have a job and tutoring younger folk, and those could be people in their own.
I was wondering about the stipend for the young people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you said 18, and I said, well,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and actually, if you did lower it to 16 or 17, and these kids are working in the schools, they might decide they want to be teachers.
Yeah.
Searching for teachers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can bring this to the leadership group within the local Minnesota Reading Corps and Math Corps. All guidelines come to our programs from a federal level. So AmeriCorps determines the starting age for this program. And the AmeriCorps also sets those living allowances. And so work is constantly being done on behalf of feedback that we get, just like this, and also other areas where we see our programs could expand and be even more impactful. So unfortunately, sometimes that change can be slow at that level, but voices are definitely being heard.
I pulled up
I'm sorry.
a video from your website. I want to share that. That'll be a nice way to get people more aware of what you're doing, but I'm trying to do the share screen. I'm not having very much luck with it right now. Let's see, try video file. No, it's not there. Yeah, I was just trying to share a tab on my computer, but I'm usually successful with it, but not today. Maybe you can do that too, Caroline. I'm on the Get Ready to Love Mondays Again page on your website. And there's about a 1 minute and 34 second video that says, "Thank you to our tutors." My sense was that's probably a nice description of the energy and the feeling and the value that the students experience by having tutors. Are you able to pull it up? Yeah, I'm not able to share screen right now. And you're not, okay. All right, that's fine. We can share that some other time. Diana D, more comments, more thoughts?
I'm just glad that this program is going on, Al. You know how I am about that reading. We go way back being mentors in the school. So I'm very happy to see, Caroline, that you guys are doing this. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, reading is absolutely the most important thing we can give our kids. And I wonder, people don't necessarily have newspapers in their houses, in their homes anymore. You read off of a handheld thing. I think sometimes kids need to see a book in your hand for it to be impressive. Holding your phone or holding your Kindle is, that happens all the time. And I wonder if just getting books into their hands isn't a big step. Just making sure they have a physical book to read.
Interesting. Maybe you'll comment on that, Caroline, but as you were speaking, so I've got a self-interest here as a newspaper owner. And I kind of remember too, in years past, I think the American Society of Newspaper Executives or something had partnerships with schools where schools got the daily newspaper of a given city or town. And that was part of the marketing initiative of building new readers and customers by the media house, but it served the benefit of a civics and local news orientation for students in the classroom. And so I've often wondered, what would it take if Minneapolis and St. Paul public schools, particularly in communities where there are large populations of color, if our business could make newspapers available and at some level built into the curriculum, where we in fact teach again children to have the Al McFarlane experience. And that is reading out loud, reading a newspaper, and having the benefit of an interested, caring person in that process that motivates that child to read. And I know we talk about the challenges that digital media provide. I never see it as an either or. I think we need to use every platform imaginable and available to capture the interest. I think, Brenda, you mentioned comic books, and comic books were and are a valid resource for capturing the imagination, for teaching culture, language, narrative, and story. And we, I think, at some point in time, tended to say, oh, comic book reading is not real reading. That's picture books. But I think we were mistaken in adopting that attitude, because comic books open up the world of imagination for young people, and they also present phenomenal vocabulary building experiences as well. I had a communication with the former CEO of Health Partners when it was Group Health. George Halverson was the president. He left Minnesota to run one of the largest health enterprises in California. But he's back here now, and his new initiative tries to focus on brain development. He's written a book that whose premise is that we have to be really intentional and specific in brain development of children from 3 months to age 3. And they sort of describe, and you may know these numbers, Caroline, I don't remember them, but the impact of small vocabularies versus what is, we know achievable in vocabulary development among children or in young brains. And to the degree that we fail to be intentional in nurturing, grooming, challenging, stretching young minds with language and vocabulary and reading or preparation for reading, we have really failed ourselves and society. And so this is so important. And I'm wondering how we become even more intentional, Brenda, in ensuring that the work that we do as journalists and communicators can be built into the education and family information apparatus with a sense of intention, not as an accident, not as an afterthought, not as, when I get time, but part of our difficult and ongoing work of building community. What do you think, Caroline?
Yes, I echo all of your words. And it is so true that we need to unlock that love of reading. And suddenly you see that there is reading everywhere. I mean, it can be exciting with a young person to read the back of a cereal box. There's so many stories. It's so important. Like you said, like has been said today, it's just so important that we get books in the hands of young people, newspapers in the hands of young people. And this time of year is so exciting for me because we have member stories that pour into us as program managers and coaching specialists, and certainly internal coaches, talking about that child who, when they first started working with the volunteer, they didn't connect. They were quiet. Maybe they wouldn't even look. But through time, that relationship grew as trust increased. And now the stories I hear will fill you with hope in a time of the world where we need a lot of hope, because some of these beautiful children suddenly are smiling and giving our members hugs at the end of their tutoring session. And our members are going on field trips with classrooms. And so filling schools with those that can really make sure that students have a chance to learn to love reading and to love math is key to their success.
Carrie, you'll jump in.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what does it look like when we want to bring in a lot of people? Is there a cap for how many volunteers you can have?
With Minnesota Reading Corps and Math Corps,
Mm-hmm.
the school fills out a member request form at the beginning of the year, and they know with their internal coach what their capacity is for support. And certainly, my goodness, this time of year, I have seen firsthand through this school year with Minneapolis public schools and charter schools, school professionals have a lot on their plate. And so they determine as a school what they have capacity for support as far as how many members they request, and then work together with the program manager to make sure that that is realistic. And because we have 3 start dates for a school that is just joining our programs for the first time, we have a chance to go from 1 member and then get up to 3 by January. So that really is driven by decisions made at the level of each school.
Okay. Well, I was just hoping maybe you guys should set up a booth at Juneteenth sometime, because we have Juneteenth every year. We're having it at Bethune this year. It'll be on Saturday the 18th is when we're celebrating. And I think this year we're planning to get around maybe 4,000, 5,000 people to come and visit. So it'll be a lot larger. There's a parade that happens, and if you guys have like little reading blocks you carry around and want to walk in the parade, I'm actually the director of the parade this year. So if you wanted to do that, I would be happy to add you to it, or, just to get it out there so that people can see what you guys are doing. And so, yeah, we'll be doing that. If you go to the park board, you can find out what we'll be doing for Juneteenth from the 13th until the 19th. We have something going on. We have it going on at different parks. We have it at Bethune. We have it at Logan, I believe. And then Powderhorn and Martin Luther King Park. This year, we have, talking about reading, we have like stroll stories. So as you walk along, you read different little parts of a book, and then you walk to the next one and read the next one, and you walk to the next one and read the next one. That way it's COVID, thinking of the COVID safety, this came up when COVID was at its greatest. And so we have that as well. The parade is going to start at 11 from Minneapolis Public Schools, and it will then end up in Bethune Park. It's called the Fremont Avenue Parade. So we're going to be going right down Fremont Avenue. It's really fun. We're going to have the Black firefighters have been super awesome. They always are every year. And so we're going to have the Minneapolis Black firefighters in the front, and the St. Paul Black firefighters bringing up the rear. So we've got two big red fire trucks in our front and our back. But our Grand Marshal this year is going to be Reg Chapman. And so we're going to bring him in, and then he'll be waving. Mr. McFarlane, all you have to do is say the word. You get to be a Grand Marshal.
I'll be there virtually.
I'll be there. I would love to plug in. So we will continue this conversation.
Right on. Yep. And so this year we're going to have it at Bethune from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. We have some really great talent this year. I've got so many favorites, but we're going to have Niles. We're going to have Javante Patton. And my church kids, they're so in love with Javante, and he's just beautiful. So I can see why, and his music is touching. And we're going to have Chase Innovation, and everybody is like, who's Chase Innovation? But when I say Prince, it is the only Prince cover band that Prince left alone. And they play down at bunkers, but sometimes you never know who'll come up. Like Jelly Bean used to just want to go and jump in, or the Doc used to want to just go and jump in, or Kelly and
Lisa. That's not the same as Dr. Mambo's Combo, is it?
No,
different group. Okay.
No, the Doc. No, that's a musician.
Okay.
But they just go and jump into this band, and I don't know why they're doing it, why it's there, or what the background is behind that. But I just know, like, they've been together for over 15 years, and they're really good. And so we'll be having them playing for the last couple of hours. That'll be our closing music group. And so if you like Prince, I think you should come on down. I know that they just did the mural. What was that, last night?
I was getting ready to say, that was so fantastic.
Wasn't that beautiful?
Oh my goodness. Yep. That would bring tears. It was beautiful.
Yep.
I don't know who's responsible for it, but it was just beautiful. Because I was a Prince fan. I wore purple all the time. Yeah.
Well, I am too. And
loved him.
I definitely will be there. And I'm hoping that, it brings people out, and, it brings all of us out. Actually, I know the younger group will be there for Javante and Niles, and we've got spoken word and some other groups. But for us who are a little bit older,
a little bit.
Are you claiming it all?
I'm claiming it.
Okay.
Because my boss is almost the same age as I am.
For us who are a little bit older and then a little bit older.
Yeah.
Got that? Okay.
That's us.
Yeah. We know what it is. And so I'm hoping that, everybody comes out and enjoys it. We've been working really hard this year on it. And I think it's going to be an awesome year again. We've got free kites for kids again. And I know that a couple of news stations are coming by to give away ice cream. And I don't know. We've just been putting our work into it. And
I
so-
just want to mention before we go off, because I think we have about a minute.
Mhm.
Carolyn, you know that publishers give away free books if there's just a tear. There's a young man, he's the kid of the year, and he raised over 100,000 books on his own.
Wow.
And part of it was that he learned about the big publishing houses, and if there's any type of damage or whatever, they shoot these books off to libraries and schools. So it might be a little bit of research, but I think you could get a lot of free books, especially for the summer.
I'm on it. Thank you very much.
Okay. I used it all the time, so I know it works.
Great resource. Thank you.
I just want to say it's conversations like this is what bring the community together and to get us to start working together on these projects that we need to do. So I appreciate you guys.
Love it.
Thank you. Thank you. And if anybody's interested in being in the parade, since I direct that one, you know, I have got a little bit leniency in that program. And so if anyone's interested, you can just reach out to me, Carrie Jo, on Facebook. And yeah, I'll get back to you and we'll work it out. Any group that has kids is totally free.
Great. Well, this has been a wonderful program. A lot of information, great information, inspiring, informative, and instructions what to do. I call it the 3 I's. We use that as our motto for Insight News: to inform, to instruct, and to inspire. We've done that today. Listen, guys, thank you all so much. We'll see you next time. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.